生命三宝琴爱性解析
Analysis of the three treasures of life: affection, love, and sex. Jiefeng. October 26, 2023. Translation edited by Chinyo. Affection, love, and sex are the three treasures of life. All living beings, from plants, insects, animals to humans, as long as they are alive, possess these three treasures. All plants, whether trees, flowers, or grass, possess affection. When they are cared for, they thrive, their flowers are vibrant, and their fruits are fragrant, sweet, and large. If they are harmed, they wither, weaken, and die. Plants also experience fear and anxiety. Even a single flower, when nurtured by a loving person, flourishes, while the same flower, when nurtured by someone with hate, cannot thrive no matter how it is cared for. The shade provided by plants, their offerings, and their colors all express their love. Plants engage in pollination, which constitutes their sexuality and sexual activity. Most of the plants that do not flower or bear fruit also have male and female distinctions. Even trees like poplars, willows, and grasses have male and female distinctions. There is an exchange of elements between the male and female parts, which is their sexuality and sexual activity. All things have affection, referring to life. The connotation of affection determines the level of a life. The narrower the emotional domain, the lower the level of life. The broader the emotional domain, the higher the level of life. For example, if a person only has affection for one or a few people, their emotional domain is narrow, and their life level is low. If a person has affection for all people, their emotional domain is vast, and their life level is high. If a person not only has affection for people but also for all beings, for mountains, rivers, land, sun, moon, and stars, then that person is no longer an ordinary mortal, but has reached the level of gods and belongs to the realm of heaven. Love is a sign of the non-material structure of life. If a person only loves a few people throughout their life, the non-material structure of their life is not much different from that of animals and may even be less extensive than that of animals. If a person loves all sentient beings, then that person is not an ordinary mortal but has reached the level of angels and bodhisattvas. The more objects of love and the broader the scope of love, the more perfect the non-material structure of a life. Love is a state manifested by life, and this state does not change in the slightest due to different environments or objects. As the saying goes, the orchid grows in a secluded valley, not needing people to appreciate its beauty. If someone falls in love with another person because of their wealth or power, this love is not born from life itself but is driven by self-interest. Therefore, love that is spoken is not true love. Love is manifested, not spoken. Sexuality is a characteristic of the structural composition of life. Every species has its unique sexual characteristics, but all life forms share a common feature: the exchange of energy with the opposite sex. Only the opposite sex can satisfy one's sexual desires. When a life receives sufficient energy from the opposite sex, it can manifest relatively perfect characteristics. If sexuality is suppressed and sexual desires remain unfulfilled, the individual will be in a pathological state, exhibiting emotions such as anxiety, restlessness, irritability, and even violence. They will vent these emotions through behaviors like anger, jealousy, resentment, and brutality. Their psyche will become imbalanced, leading to internal conflicts and a decline in the capacity for love, eventually drifting towards the lower realms of life. If a life loses affection, love, and sex, it is no different from a stone. It loses vitality and life. If a person lacks affection, love, and sex, they become like a mummy, a walking corpse, nothing more than a physical automaton. Therefore, affection, love, and sex are the three treasures of life. People may possess nothing, but they cannot lack affection, love, and sex. The broader the emotional domain, love domain, and sex domain, the higher the level of life. The narrower the domain, the lower the level. Why did Jesus Christ say, "In heaven, there is neither marrying nor giving in marriage"? It is because once there is marriage, the emotional, love, and sex domains become narrow, making it unsuitable for life to exist in heaven. To become an advanced life form, one must fill their heart with love for mountains and rivers, love for the universe, and love for the destinations they are destined to reach. Regardless of the environment or circumstances, one must consistently express their love, beauty. They must fully satisfy their sexual needs because sexual freedom is the ultimate freedom of life.
情欲和爱欲的区别。
The distinction between the domain of emotion and the domain of love. Jiefeng. October 30th, 2023. Translation edited by Chinyo. The domain of emotion refers to the scope of feelings and emotions involved, while the domain of love pertains to the scope of love cognition. To grasp the contrast between the two domains, we need to differentiate between emotion and love. Emotion is an expression of a person's psychological state. There are 8 emotions: joy, anger, sorrow, happiness, sadness, worry, fear, and surprise. The emotions we commonly refer to mainly include family affection, friendship, romantic love, and gratitude. Love is an expression of a person's consciousness state, with only one form of expression: joy. Psychological and consciousness states are entirely distinct. Psychological states change with external circumstances, while consciousness states are inherent expressions of life that do not change with external factors. Emotion changes with external factors. For example, kind treatment may evoke affection, while provocation may lead to resentment. Love, on the other hand, does not change with external factors. For example, parental love remains constant regardless of changes in the child's behavior. It is innate and difficult to change. The domain of emotion pertains to feelings. For example, if one has few objects of affection, their emotional domain is narrow. If one has many objects of affection, their emotional domain is broad. The domain of love pertains to love. For example, in the animal kingdom, female animals exhibit extraordinary care and love towards their offspring, whether they are bears, tigers, leopards, pigs, dogs, or birds. However, this love is solely directed towards their own offspring and does not extend to the offspring of other species. Similarly, humans tend to feel affection towards those with whom they share blood relations, emotional connections, and mutual interests, rather than extending their affection to other individuals or entities. Celestial beings, for instance, predominantly express love for all of nature and its creatures, showing fondness for the qualities, environments, and realm of celestials. Buddhas and bodhisattvas express love towards all life forms, including humans, reflecting their broad perspective and elevated consciousness at this level of existence. Thus, the breadth of the love domain varies according to the difference of life scope and realm. Upon examining the emotions and love of different levels of life, we find that broader domains indicate higher life levels. Conversely, narrower domains suggest lower life levels. This is a topic that practitioners and cultivators need to pay close attention to.
应当这样爱惜生命。
Life should be cherished like this. Jiefeng. December 2nd, 2023. Translation edited by Chinyo. When a life does not exchange energy with the external world, it will move towards death. The more completely a life exchanges energy with the external world, the more vibrant it becomes. The more closed off a life is, the more lacking in vitality it becomes, and the more it tends towards rigidity and ultimately death. Conversely, the more open a life is, the more vibrant it becomes, and the closer it gets to longevity. The condition of life is similar to the state of a nation. The more open and inclusive a nation is, the more it tends towards civilization and development. The more closed and exclusive a nation is, the more it tends towards ignorance and backwardness. Just look at which nations in the world are civilized and developed and which are backward and barbaric, and you'll draw your own conclusions. Once we understand the relationship between a life and the external world, we understand how to cherish life. The key to cherishing life is to maintain the most open and unobstructed relationship with the external world to the greatest extent possible. What is the primary symptom of depression? The answer is fear of contact and communication with others, even refusing to interact with them, and closing oneself off. If you confine a lively, intelligent, and wise person, preventing them from interacting with the outside world, from talking to people, from reading, watching TV, or surfing the internet, and even from experiencing nature, keeping them locked in a room for 3 or 5 years, what will happen to that person? They will become fools, walking corpses, or even go insane and die. Therefore, for a person as a life, the contact, communication, and interaction with the outside world directly affect the strength and longevity of life. So I ask, why do some elderly farmers living in remote and backward villages have very limited contact with the outside world, but still live healthy and long lives? Why do some white-collar workers living in big cities, who are exposed to almost unlimited external information every day, still feel depressed and have short lives? The answer lies in the level of stress in life. Low stress tends to lead to relatively good health and longevity, while high stress tends to lead to weakness and a short life. This is not directly related to the exchange of information with the outside world, but is a different topic from the theme of this article. From the perspective of the 3 laws of thermodynamics, energy is conserved, but it undergoes transformation. In the process of transformation, some energy is inevitably wasted and cannot be reused. This concept is called entropy. In this way, it can be observed that in an isolated system, the entropy value will increase, which means that the amount of energy wasted and no longer usable will increase. Eventually, the entire system will collapse without flow or exchange of energy, and as a life, it will also end its journey. Preventing the increase of entropy is the most effective way to cherish life. So, how do we mitigate the increase of entropy? An effective method to prevent the increase of entropy is to introduce negative entropy into the system, also known as absorbing negative entropy. So, what is negative entropy? Anything that can counteract the increase of entropy in a system, whether material, mental, or spiritual energy, can be called negative entropy. Let's illustrate with examples. If a person wants to commit suicide due to a failed relationship, it means that their entropy has increased to the point of collapse. At this point, saying anything comforting may not be very effective. The most effective solution is to provide negative entropy, which means introducing a more attractive person into their life for them to fall in love with again. In this way, the negative entropy counteracts the original increase in entropy, and their emotional world returns to its original state. Another example. If a person loses faith in life due to financial difficulties, any comforting words may not be very effective. However, giving them money directly can restore their confidence in life. If a puddle of water is not replenished with fresh water, it will soon become stagnant and foul. However, if fresh water is constantly added, allowing the stagnant portion of the water to flow away, the puddle will remain pure and not dry up for a long time. The fresh water added to the puddle is like taking in negative entropy. In fact, the principle is the same as the process of eating, drinking, and excreting every day. Various phenomena indicate that to maintain vitality and longevity, we must absorb more negative entropy from the external environment. This principle tells us that the life force, vitality, and longevity of the Life-Genuine members will definitely surpass those of others because Life-Genuine members have broken away from the traditional mindset and lifestyle with high entropy values, directly breaking the rigid and lifeless life routines, and adopting a brand new mindset and lifestyle with negative entropy. This is like reformatting a computer nearing crash and installing new software, rejuvenating it. Therefore, when a system becomes stagnant and lacks vitality, causing disappointment or even despair, it must be replaced by a completely new system. Otherwise, the system will undoubtedly perish. This holds true for nations, ethnicities, political and religious organizations, as well as any enterprise or diverse group. Individuals are no exception. Therefore, it is crucial to participating in continuous learning and exploration, to venture out and welcome others in, to maintain an open mind and an open soul, to engage in meaningful communication with others, especially those whose perspectives differ from our own. We must avoid closing ourselves off, constantly discard our past knowledge and experiences, never assuming we are always right. By remaining open-minded, we can embrace diverse perspectives, constantly restrain the increase of entropy, and move towards a state akin to heaven.
修行的最高境界。
The highest realm of cultivation. Jiefeng. November 25, 2023. Translation edited by Chinyo. The following story, I have forgotten its source perhaps, it was told by my English Bible teacher more than 20 years ago, or maybe I read it in the American Reader's Digest. An elegant lady was walking on the street when suddenly she was knocked down by a man riding a bicycle. The man quickly helped her up, repeatedly saying, "I'm sorry," while the woman, shaking off the dust from her body, calmly said, "I'm sorry, it was me who blocked your way." When someone is knocked down from behind, they would typically either sternly reprimand the man or demand hefty compensation for the mental and physical injuries. But this woman not only did not get angry, blame, or demand anything, she calmly said, "I'm sorry, it was me who blocked your way." Her words implied that the man was right, and the one who was knocked down was wrong. What kind of realm is this? I believe this is the highest realm of cultivation, and cultivators should take this lady as a role model. Over 30 years ago, on a road in Yuzhong County, Lanzhou City, where there were very few vehicles, I suddenly heard the emergency braking sound of a truck from behind. Turning around, I saw the truck driver sticking his head out of the window and shouting loudly at a man riding a bicycle, "Are you looking to die? Damn it!" This driver was full of anger, and if the bicycle had blocked his way, a simple honk would have sufficed as a warning. There was no need for such cursing. This behavior is definitely not characteristic of a cultivator. Cultivators adhere to certain ethical standards. They refrain from scolding, hitting, hurting, annoying, harming, or provoking others. They communicate kindly and behave appropriately. If they can acknowledge their own mistakes and give credit to others, then they are cultivators with a certain level of spiritual maturity and mental breadth. If they are willing to sacrifice their own honor, dignity, property, status, or even their lives to protect the honor, dignity, property, status, or lives of others, then they have reached the highest realm of cultivation.
生命旅途上会有必要的挫折和磨难。
There will be necessary setbacks and tribulations on the journey of life. Jiefeng.
Set.
06, 2022. There are different levels of life. The more perfect a life is, that life will be in the higher level space, and the more flawed a life is, that life will be in the lower level space. We are reincarnated into the world because we have flawed lives. If flawed lives want to return to the high-level life space, they need to go through some necessary setbacks and tribulations. The so-called flawed life mainly refers to the life with debts. Whether these debts are in heaven or on earth, they must be repaid. This is stipulated and restricted by the law of the combination of positive and negative energies of the universe is zero, from which we understand that in the lifetime of a human, his main task is to pay off his debts. After the debt is paid off, he will return to heaven. If his debt is not paid off, he must continue to reincarnate in the world. If he not only fails to pay off his debt but also owes more debt, he has to go to live in a space that is lower than that of a human being. The life structure of human beings is born with the function of selfishness. If the life does not have the function of selfishness, it will live forever in heaven. Due to selfishness, it is very difficult for people to repay debts, so Tao arranged some setbacks and tribulations for people to repay debts with. This is determined by the fairness of Tao. So what we need to understand is, there will be necessary setbacks and tribulations on the journey of life. As the saying goes, as we live in the complications of the human world, we have to adapt ourselves to changing circumstances, which means that 8 or 9 out of 10 things in life we encountered are unsatisfactory, and only 1 or 2 out of 10 things make us happy. When living to the age of 60 or 70, 70 or 80, and reminiscing about the imprints of the past years, people will often sigh and have regrets. In fact, this is a very normal phenomenon. Even if one can start all over again, there will still be a lot of unsatisfactory things that occur. Setbacks and tribulations are unavoidable, because that is the fair arrangement of Tao. Who wants to be a pig? The problem is not whether you want to or not, but if you have to be a pig. When a person owes a huge amount of debt, and he cannot repay the debt at all with conventional ways, then it will be arranged for him to be a pig, to dedicate his blood, meat, bones, and fur, and even to go under a knife to repay his debt, so he can return to the world to be a human again. Everything in the world is a constant. No matter how big or small a circle is, from a small one like the eye of a needle, to the large one that encompasses the Milky Way, the ratio of its circumference to diameter is always a fixed number. Various kinds of life, from a bacterium to an earthworm to a person, everything of its life is a constant. Even the water on the earth, whether it is torrential water or it has been dried for 1,000 years, its total amount is a constant or is a constant quantity. It can be seen from this that the total amount of food a person eats in his life is a constant or constant amount. When a person consumes the total amount of food at the age of 30, he will definitely starve and die. If the total amount of food is consumed at the age of 70, but he lives frugally and never wastes a grain of rice or a mouthful of grain, then if he is destined to die at the age of 70, but because his total amount of food has not been consumed, his death can only be delayed. The same is true of setbacks and tribulations, which can also be called a life balance mechanism, just like if in this world, a certain governor embezzled and accepted 200 million yuan in bribes, and then was arrested and put in a prison or sentenced to death, and all his property was confiscated. This is fair and just. Or make him terminally ill, or drive him to commit suicide, or let him live day and night without peace. In short, the mechanism of Tao will keep the constant of life rigorous and eternal. Flowers bloom and wither, and the tide rises and falls. The moon tells us that there is only one full moon in a month, and the waning of the moon is a regular phenomenon. Therefore, in the face of tribulations and setbacks, we must maintain a calm mind, and even maintain a joyful mind, because that is repaying debts. Borrowing debts is easy and to repay them is difficult. Debt repayment is painful, but no matter how painful it is, you must repay the debt with joy. Frustrations and tribulations are almost inevitable, but they can be reduced to the point where you can bear them. The best way to alleviate setbacks and tribulations is to generate merits, and the best way to generate merits is to give and dedicate selflessly. There is no other way. If someone makes you unhappy, and that is also a tribulation.
"自私是生命基因的癌细胞."
Selfishness is the cancer cell in the gene of life. Jiefeng. December 09, 2021. Do you believe in the existence of heaven? 99% of people either don't believe in the existence of heaven or doubt the existence of heaven. Why do you doubt or not believe in the existence of heaven? Because there are cancer cells in your life genes. These cancer cells are those of selfishness. When a person is selfish, he will never believe in the existence of pure truth, pure beauty, and pure kindness, because his selfishness is like a barrier blocking his sight, just like it is difficult for a person who has not studied geography and doesn't know about time differences to believe that when he is sleeping in the middle of the night, it is noon in some other places. A selfish person can never feel and experience the pattern and realm of a selfless person, just like a person who has never been hungry cannot feel and experience the taste of hunger. Heaven is the realm of selfless people. The reason why the kingdom of heaven is beautiful is that all people living in heaven are selfless. The territory created by the more selfish people is closer to hell, and the territory created by the more selfless people is closer to heaven. In a social group from 2 people to 3 people, for people 7 people, hundreds of or thousands of people, if you live among it, you will find that the makers of troubles, pain, anxiety, worry, and fear are all selfish people. The more one is selfish, the more falsehoods, evil and ugliness he will create. When dealing with people, you will find that it is difficult to get along with some people. The deep root cause is that they are very selfish. The more selfish a person is, the harder it is to get along with him. People cannot get along with each other due to differences in the three outlooks: greed, hatred, ignorance, incompetence, suspicion, protecting the interests of the nation and the country, different beliefs resulting in different opinions, to be yourself, to sticking to their opinions, etc. Disputes, arguments, battles. The origin of all the above is the selfishness of human nature. All false, evil, and ugly phenomena and incidents in society are caused by selfishness. Are there completely selfless people in the world? Of course there are a lot of them. Did Christ Jesus, Buddha Shakyamuni, and immortal Lao Tzu have selfish motives? Not at all. In the past and present, did the missionaries who went to poor and backward places have selfish motives? No. Did those Western missionaries who went to China to establish schools and hospitals have selfish motives? No. Did Mother Teresa have selfish motives? No. There is never a shortage of angels and bodhisattvas on earth. Who are the angels and bodhisattvas? Those who are totally selfless are angels and bodhisattvas. Any more questions about this? When angels and bodhisattvas gather together, they can create heaven. When extremely selfish people get together, they can create hell. Is there any basis for this? There sure is. When Chanyuan celestials are together, they can create a picturesque and beautiful Xanadu, and can copy the scenes of heaven in the world. The second home created by Lifa Chanyuan is a solid proof of this. Selfishness is one of the 36 8 diagrams arrays, mazes. Those who do not live for themselves will be punished by Tao, is a maze. When born as a human you have to be selfish, and when you come to the Saha world you have to be selfish, so that people are tightly bound in the maze of selfishness and can't escape the cycle through the 6 worlds, and you can't transcend the 3 realms. If you want to escape the maze of selfishness, you must keep this in mind. If the immortals live only for themselves, they will be punished by Tao. Regardless of whether it is Buddha, immortals, angels, bodhisattva, or all beings in heaven, once they become selfish, they will be destroyed by Tao, and they will surely be laid down in the mortal world and fall into the cycle through the 6 worlds. No matter who they are, emperors, beggars, professors, illiterates, workers, farmers, etc., as long as they are selfless, they will enter heaven. But rich people, you will never be accepted by the kingdom of heaven, no matter how well you do charity, because rich people themselves are synonyms of selfishness. How can you become rich if you are not selfish? Whether you become rich by wisdom, by creation and invention, or by service, once there are poor people who oppose you, there will be no doubt about your selfish nature. After all, there are no poor people in heaven, and there are no rich people there either. The most perfect character of life is selflessness. Selfishness is the cancer cell of the life gene, the cancer cell that will devour the perfection of life little by little, until it makes life so ugly that it descends into hell.